All right, so in this video, Steve and I go to visit a good friend, Zach Reinig, at his gym, Renegade Strength and Performance. Zach is a competitive powerlifter. This clip right here is a video of him benching 363 for 2 reps. In this video, Zach gives us some great game on how he teaches the bench setup.
So the biggest thing first is setting up rack height.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to get under the bar. And what I want is bar to be right over your eyes.
This got some grip.
It's so soft and grippy.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
the
not
difference.
used to
This is
that.
a competition bench. So I just want you to raise, find your mark here as far as your width, whatever you're comfortable with.
How do you determine grip?
So,
I'm a gym bro.
so the biggest thing we want to see, and it depends on where you're touching,
Okay.
your chest at. The biggest thing we want to see is joints stacked.
Okay.
So as we come down and descend in the bench, we want to make sure that our wrist is above our elbow joint.
Okay.
Yep. So some people, depending on their arm length, it's going to differ. So
Okay.
some people are going to have to, in order to achieve that stacked joint position, they're going to have to go a little bit wider, or if they have shorter arms, they might have to go a little bit shorter. But good rule of thumb is just, how you were doing it is kind of just thumb grip. And then what we can do is we can just go from there. But so now that you have your width, what I want you to do is go from let go of the bar and then raise this off so we're not pressing it as far. And you can do this. This isn't just combo racks or competition bench presses. You can do this with the J cups, the regular J cups, or in a rack. But I mean, this is just gonna make sure that you're not starting in a disadvantage, or basically starting a disadvantage and having to press it off to the J cups. You'll be able to have enough space to clear the J cups comfortably without having to press too far. Yeah. But so a lot of people don't realize that when we set up underneath the bar, we want it right at eye level. Okay. Because what I see is people that get too high up and it's at the chin, then they go to clear the J cups and then they're pushing right back into the J cups.
Yeah.
And so I guess when you set up, if we're looking at a checklist, that's probably the first thing is once we get under the bar. Well, the first thing is making sure our rack height's correct so that we're not pressing it before we unrack it and that it's not too far up. Okay. And so, your eyes are going to be right underneath. It's going to cast a little shadow right over there.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yep. And then you'll get into, again, a lot of people will teach bar forward. I teach bar back.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? I've never heard of someone teaching.
I know. And a lot of people don't. Okay. So go ahead. And actually, again, this is going to be another tangent. If you guys are okay with that.
Oh, yeah. Go.
So what I like to do, let me squeeze underneath there. So when I set up,
man, you've been doing this a while.
Yeah. So I'm pushing my shoulder blades back and down and creating tension. Okay. Yes. So I'm driving, because when we press with our legs in the bench press, it's not up. That's why a lot of people get that butt rise. Yeah. It's back and up. And we're driving in that J-shaped pattern.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in order for me to create that tension right off the get-go, I am pushing the bar here, and then I'm driving on top as high on my shoulders as I can while I'm retracting. I'm letting my butt sit, but still maintaining that tightness in my glutes and hamstrings and acting like I'm trying to push north. Okay. And that's why these benches have grip on it, man. Yeah, because if you don't have this, you dead ass just slide. Yeah.
So that's what I'm used to in like a standard gym.
Yep. Okay. And so one, that is going to pushing into the rack is going to create tension from the get-go. And then two, and I'll show you with just a little bit of weight, what it'll do is it'll create a more stable lift off. Because if you just glide up now, and then pull it off. Yeah. See, it's more stable than if you
now I gotta press it.
Now just press it up.
Even if it's not much.
Even if it's not much, you'll feel. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? You feel the difference?
Yeah.
because we're creating tension. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Everything's connected before we even move the bar.
That's weird.
Whereas there's a huge disconnect in that chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, I've gotten actually hounded on the comments page about dudes saying, "Oh, it's going to create more friction," blah 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 blah. And it's like, all right, dude, like whatever. Yeah,
okay,
100%. You want that because it allows you to reciprocate that force back into the rack.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay. So we got the setup,
Yep.
hand placement, eye placement, unracking.
Yep.
Now what?
Tension in your glutes and hamstrings as we set up.
Okay.
And that's what this is from a competition standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's carryover for everybody, especially, but teaching the arch doesn't have to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see, like the, in the world bench press tournaments and stuff like that. You don't have to have crazy arch. But just enough allows us to, again, dig those shoulders in there, create stability, and then also allows us to get into a more efficient pressing position. Because that sets us up and it allows us to utilize our legs and then press in that J curve. Okay. Because you don't want to straight press up.
Okay.
You want it naturally just goes from here and then slightly back over to the eyes.
Okay.
And so what I like to do is I like to get my hand placement here. Again, bar in the back of the rack, set my shoulders back and then slightly down. We're not over committing to that down position. Because we still want to have, a little bit of anterior deltoid in your press, right?
Yeah.
So I'll set my feet, drive north, bring it to the start of my press. And then the next biggest cue from here is I always tell people to act like they're reverse or rowing the bar down to their chest.
Okay.
So it's not just a drop, right?
Yeah.
So it's rowing it into position to where our the bar will touch our chest. And then from here, if you look at the elbows and the wrist, the joints are stacked.
Yeah.
And then we're driving up into that J shape.
Okay, I've heard that from like West Side, like Louis Simmons.
Yeah.
We all probably went through a Louis Simmons phase. The rowing the bar to
Yeah.
your chest. What's that? And I'm being serious. What's that mean? Like,
So think of like the best way that I get people to cue into that is inverted rows.
okay.
So literally you're bringing that bar to your chest. You're actively firing the lats and rowing it into position.
Okay. All right.
And then you're thinking chest to the bar.
Okay.
Chest to the bar.
Pop the chest.
Yep.
All right.
So we'll set up, bar over the eyes, hands are in place, pushing into the rack. Yep. Guiding it out and then rowing it. Yep. Good. And then firing up. Yep. Good. And then rack. Yep.
All right. I noticed with you, you're flat-footed.
Yes.
I'm always super toey.
Yep.
Does that matter?
I feel a difference in the amount of leg engagement I get out of it.
Okay.
So when I'm heels down, I can really dig my heels into the platform and then drive with my glutes and hamstrings.
Okay.
Whereas when I'm just toes, I don't feel that same engagement.
Okay. That's fair.
So, I feel like I lose tightness in my glutes and my hamstrings. And then I don't have, again, like we're driving through the ground even on bench press, like whether it's squat, whether it's deadlift, like especially on bench press, people think that there's no legs involved. That's a fallacy, dude. Like there's definitely legs involved.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I get sometimes if I'm pressing like anywhere over 90% of like my 1 rep max, sometimes my hamstrings will cramp up. Yeah.
Heard of it.
And so that's just, again, constant tension and constant drive from the floor into the bar.
Okay.
So go ahead and set back up and go, same thing, go toe up. Start with toe up. And then from there,
Little cramp back.
we'll wait for this then. So from there, immediately push your heels through the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel the difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
100%.
Okay.
So
So when you set up, are you now obviously again you're still flat-footed. My heels still weren't on the ground.
correct.
Are you kind of thinking that as well though, like kind of toe-y and then drive heels down?
So I start toe-y. So I do start toe-y when I go to find my positioning, right? And then from here, I immediately go drive the heels down.
Okay.
And then again, right into the J-cups. And then from here, I don't put my butt down until it's out here and I'm ready to press.
Okay, I think Barrett did that as well.
Yeah. A lot of guys will come up here and they'll have the bar sitting too high on their hands.
Okay.
So it'll be up here and they'll have weak wrist. You want this bar to sit right over the meat of your thumb.
Okay.
So right here in that pocket. So how I achieve that, they call it the bulldog grip because bulldogs are like this.
I didn't even.
You never even heard of that? Yeah, so they call it the bulldog grip. So what we do is we find our placement. We start here,
Okay.
grab, rotate.
You're trying to.
And you're trying to bend that bar.
Okay.
And then that's going to lock those lats down too. And then again, from here, it's just a reverse row all the way down. And then we're driving through because it's essentially just a punch.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to knock you out if I go like this, right?
Yeah.
If I go like that and slap you.
Yeah.
But if I push through here,
yeah,
you're going somewhere.
Okay.
If we go, and this is what I was talking about earlier, if we go wider, in order to keep our joints stacked, the bar, where the bar touches our chest, is going to have to be higher.
Okay.
And then if vice versa, the closer we go, the lower the bar placement is going to be in order to keep those joints stacked. So when we do like a close grip, so if I go to my normal touch point, you see where my elbows are?
Yeah.
And where my wrist is?
Yeah.
Weak press, very weak press. But if I go a little bit lower, I can keep them stacked. And it's a lot stronger press.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. If I go wide and I go to my normal,
now they're
in. But if I bring it up a little bit higher, they stay stacked.
The science of the bench press.
Yep.
Okay.
Biggest thing is start stiff. That's how you start with a strong bench press.
Yep.
Creating that tension.
Stiff.
Yep.
Oh. All right.
Blue Chew.
If someone is struggling to keep their hips down, I know you talked about rather than up, driving back into the rack, but if someone just can't figure that out and their hips keep leaving the bench, how do you address that?
Don't arch as much.
Okay, so less of an arch.
So take the arch out. Yeah.
Okay.
So, or you could do, well, no, you don't really want to do that. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I was going to say Larson press is a good way to eliminate that completely. But yeah, usually it comes from people being overcommitted to that arch.
Sure.
Whereas if we just loosen it up just a little bit, we won't have as much leg drive, but we'll be able to cheat it a little bit.
Sure.
Okay.
And that's what we'll do, especially, I know I've had to do it in competition. My third attempt, if I miss my second attempt because my butt comes up, what you'll see is my feet travel south. So a little bit further. And then that takes, it's easier to, again, drive north instead of driving up.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, man. Shout out to Zach for letting us swing by Renegade Strength and Performance. A beautiful facility in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The address will be down in the description if you're in the area and want to come check it out. Zach and his crew are some great people. Steve and I actually graduated from high school with Zach, so it was awesome to be able to catch up with him and get some work in. As you can see, he's got some of the best equipment money can buy, tons of Arsenal and Rogue equipment. He's got the calibrated kilo plates, along with powerlifting and weightlifting specific equipment. An awesome recovery room with 2 saunas and a cold plunge. Zach and I actually trained jiu-jitsu together as well, so it's awesome to see his mat set up upstairs here. Steve and I are planning on doing a bunch more content just like this, where we go around, visit other coaches, and learn from them. If you like this type of content, please be sure to like the video, give us a follow, and stay tuned for further content.